Thank you so much, Mama Bianca, for the welcome. So we are continuing with our single Sabbath this afternoon. And I was almost going to request that they remove the pulpit or I go down there because it's going to be a Bible study. I won't be preaching this afternoon, but I know we also have an online audience, so this is fine. Our topic this afternoon is single, satisfied, and sanctified. Is it possible? Single, satisfied, and sanctified. Is it possible? In a certain church, there was a lady. She was a single at the time. She was born with a disability. And because she was born with a disability, she was given a name. Let me say that name for context. She grew up being called Kerema. You know, Kerema is somebody who is disabled or crippled, as they would say. So that was the name she was called. At her home, even in the village, that's the name she was known by. But of course, it wasn't her name. So her age was advancing to close to 40 years, and she was still single. A certain man joined that congregation, and he showed interest in this lady. He was new in the church. You know, there are those people who come and they take the church by storm because they look gifted, they look talented, they look charismatic, they look like, you know, where have they been all along? And he took notice of this lady who was living with the disability. The lady was definitely very thrilled by her, by the man, and he proposed that he wanted to marry her pretty fast. It was happening so fast. And the people told her, okay, this young man, not so young, but this man looks like a good man, but we don't know him. You don't know him. Maybe you can take a bit of time. She said, no, my biological clock is ticking. I just want to have a child. I have a disability. I'm alone. I just want to have a child because my age is advancing. And they told her, no, just take a bit of time. The lady said, no, I really have desired to have a family. And finally, this is my opportunity to have a family. They wedded with this man very fast. And unfortunately, about 2 years later after the wedding, this lady had a child. The man died of HIV. And this lady was left HIV positive with a child who is HIV positive as well. So the child got infected through mother-to-child transmission. Don't ask me whether they didn't go to the clinic. I don't know in between, but just get the point. So the lady was left still disabled, 2 years older, with HIV and with a child who is HIV positive. So initially, according to her, she had one problem. You can call it a problem, disability. But now 2 years later, she's left with more problems. Single, satisfied, and sanctified. Is it possible? It's not God's will that any of us should be desperate to get into marriage or to get a partner. That is not the will of God if you feel desperate. We are going to read from the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 and 19. Mama Bianca has already prayed, so I will read the scripture, then get into the word. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 and 19, and it says, "And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to work it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper that is suitable for him." Verse 19. So you would think that when God said it's not good for man to be alone, you think that he was automatically going to give him a partner. But this is what happened. "And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was its name." It goes on and on. The woman comes later. So Adam never asked God for a partner. He didn't. But God said it's not good for Adam to be alone. Many people are single, not out of choice. Most people who are single, it's not out of choice. They didn't plan that I'm going to be single. However, I know that there are people who are single out of choice. In my experience, I have not met a single person, in my experience, who is single out of choice and they are not coming from a place of pain. I've not met one, but maybe I will meet. All the single people I have met in my work who are single by choice, it's from a place of pain. Okay? Let me give you another example. I know that there are people who don't desire children. I didn't desire children. I didn't. Now, however, it was coming from a place of pain. I agree. This is what I'm not saying. I'm not saying I don't love my children. Those who know me, they know that I love my children, maybe more than life. And I know I shouldn't say that, but I love my children maybe too much. Until now, they just tell me, una to control sana, jipe shughuli. You know, my 13-year-old today said, I'm not coming with you. I'm going to another church. Live your life. Go the two of you. You've been too much around me. So that's how much I love my children. Very, very much. But I did not desire to get children. But it was out of pain. Yeah? Out of pain. And you're wondering what pain? Out of pain that I had taken care of my mother's children. I was tired. Anybody like that? You took care of your siblings, you're just simply fed up. You just want nothing. Maybe that's a message to parents who make their children take care of their younger siblings. You just get fed up, completely tired, and you want nothing to do with children. Not because you would not love your children, but you're just tired. And it's okay for us to say the truth, okay? So sometimes we make decisions out of pain. And your pain is valid. So for me, when I used to hear people saying, oh, I really look forward to getting a child, I'm like, oh, really? That's not my story. You know, that's not my story. But of course, when the children came, I can almost say that I've laid my life for my children, you know, done the best that I could. So the point I'm saying, it was not God's plan it was not Adam who asked for a wife. Yeah, but it's the Lord who saw it fit. So it is the will of God to give you a spouse. So don't think that those are not prayers to take to God, because God desires to bless you at the right time, in the right way. So you don't need to use your own means. You know, by all means, there are people who have used all means to get someone. You know, they just use all means possible to go ahead and they want to get somebody. A certain lady told me, you know, there's this man, we love each other so much. I said, okay, so why are we here? She said, but now there's a problem. The man has a wife. So I said, so the man has a wife and we love each other so much. I'm the one we should have met before. In fact, he married the wife by mistake. You know those lies which our great-grandmothers were told, and our grandmothers and our mothers. Now we were told those lies. Now our children are telling us those lies, you know. So I was like, but he has a wife. He is logistically not available. She says, but we love each other so much. The wife was a mistake. Me, I have no problem with the children. I will raise them. I said, that man is the one who was a mistake. He never deserved to have that wife. You see, so I'm just trying to illustrate how people use all means because you don't think that God can give you a spouse. So you want to use all means to get people who are logistically not available for you. When we go to the book of Ruth, chapter 3, verse 3, it was not the idea of Ruth to get a kinsman redeemer. It was the idea of Naomi. And Naomi tells Ruth in Ruth chapter 3, verse 3, wash yourself therefore, and anoint yourself, and put your best clothes upon you, and get down to the floor, but make not yourself known unto the man, until he shall have finished eating and drinking. It was Naomi's idea for Ruth to get a kinsman redeemer. it was not the idea of Ruth. Ruth was busy, providing for the mother-in-law and doing what she needed to do, but it was the idea of Naomi. And you can see Naomi telling Ruth, wash yourself, remove your widow's garments. There are people who lost their spouses, for example. By the way, I don't know many of you, so don't think when I speak from here, I'm talking about you, please. I'm just saying, because I've also had the privilege of helping thousands of people across the world, so I know humanity and human behavior. So some of the things may just sound like you, but I'm not talking about a specific person here. Some people lose their partner through death or divorce or abandonment, and they decide to wear those widows' clothes forever. And they may not be physical clothes, but the countenance is of an abandoned, rejected person. The Lord is telling you today, please wash your hair. Remove the blankets from your hair. Wash the clothes. Throw away those clothes you were wearing when you were with that person and buy new clothes. Part of healing when you're going through loss or even divorce or whatever is, we ask, are you still wearing the clothes the person wanted you to wear? Because some of us have an opinion on the clothes our spouses should wear. So over time you may find you begin dressing in a manner like the way your spouse wants to dress. But if they are no longer there, throw away those clothes, please. Give them for charity and dress in a different manner, because that season has since ended. So Naomi gave Ruth wisdom. Comb your hair, take a shower, oil yourself. Don't walk like that person. Don't give yourself that label and stick with it, because seasons change, times change. And that makes people desperate because you're still holding onto a season that passed. I said in the morning that sometimes society treats single people like they have a disability. I even told someone the other day that sometimes you look at single people, you think that they are very sad. But let me shock you what statistics show. Statistics show that the happiest category of people are married men. The happiest people are married men and single, childless women. The happiest men, numbers don't lie, the happiest category of people in the world are married men because they have someone to take care of them, and single, childless women because they have no one they are taking care of. Now, the most unhappy people are married women and single men. Married women with children especially are the most unhappy, because they are taking care of people, and the single men because they have no one to take care of them. That is what statistics show. I shared this in another place that whenever I meet a friend or an acquaintance and I introduce them to one of my sons, I'm not saying which son, but one of my son normally looks at the person and says, she cannot be married. I say, why? She looks too happy to be married. I'm telling you the truth. Why? He says, no. Mama, your friend looks too happy to be married. I say, why do you say that? He says, married women are bitter, angry, and resentful. That's it. And one time he had a friend. The friend told him that the father has 2 wives. The father to the friend has 2 wives. So then when he told me, I asked, so are they the second family or are they the first family? He said, obviously the first family. I said, why? He said, the mother is so bitter, she can't be a second wife. And he was right, actually. He said, I don't know about the bitterness part, but she was the first wife. He said, no, obviously she can't be the second wife. She's too bitter. She must be the first wife. So when he said that, and that is what statistics on happiness show. So sometimes people can say, and what I'm not saying is for people to want to be single, because those are the happiest. I'm just saying, yeah? So sometimes you can see and you're thinking, so sad and what have you, and you don't know actually what the statistics are saying. So what then do you do if you find yourself single and feeling desperate? Because it's possible you can find yourself single and you're feeling desperate. Sometimes someone can be desperate to the point of becoming an emotional prostitute. That when anybody is paying attention to you, you go following them. Just because they have shown some very little attention because of coming from a place of desperation. And we said it's not God's will. Ruth was not desperate. Adam was not desperate. So our desperation is a human pain. It's a creation of our pain, not how we are supposed to be. What does it mean really if you may find yourself desperate? And we have said it's not the will of God. It may mean that you have some hidden issues on dependency. Dependency issues meaning you think that you are not equipped to handle what you're going through in life. You think that another human being should come and take care of you. You know, there are men I have heard saying that, oh, you know, I need somebody to cook for me. I need somebody to wash my clothes. I need someone to do this. So I'm going to get married. Wrong reason to get married. It is important for everybody to learn to take care of themselves. You can cook your food, wash your clothes, keep yourself busy and provide for yourself. So you are not looking for somebody to come and take care of you because you are likely to make a wrong choice. I've heard ladies say, I'm so tired of paying bills. I need a man to take care of me. Very wrong. You need to be in a place where you can take care of yourself, because the Lord, what he did, the Lord God, when he said it's not good, he created animals for Adam to take care of so that he can sustain himself. So the woman came as a suitable helpmeet, not somebody to come and take care of him, okay? So it may be that you have hidden dependency issues. You're looking for someone to depend on. You're not taking care of yourself, and yet the Lord has created all of us capable, competent, and able to take care of ourselves. So that somebody comes as a suitable helpmeet, a partner befitting you. It may also mean that you may be having negative beliefs about yourself. There are people who think that if they don't have a spouse, a partner, husband, or wife, they are not good enough. They think I must be so ugly, I must be so unattractive. That's why people are not talking to me. Not necessarily. Do you also know that sometimes you can be so attractive and so gifted that people fear talking to you because they think you just cannot be alone? Do you understand what I'm saying? There is a book called The Curse of the Gifted Child by one psychologist called Alice Miller. She has written a book called The Curse of the Gifted Child. And I've not read the full book. Well, I think I've read the book. But the theme is somebody can be so gifted and so good that people just think, this one cannot be alone. You know, they think so. So if somebody is going to think that the reason why I'm still single and yet I want to get into a relationship is because I am not attractive, I'm looking at themselves negatively, they will get it wrong. It may also be possible that one is desperate because of the scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset. You think that good people are finished. You know, sometimes people tell you, but there are no good people. But there are no good people. There are so many good people, personally, I know. So people say, but they're not there. Where are the good women? Where are the good men? They are there, but are you a good one, first of all, to begin with? To begin with. So sometimes that feeling of scarcity makes somebody desperate. Some people don't see a future without a spouse. They imagine that, I don't want to grow alone. But do you know that there are many people who are married and yet they are growing old alone? Do you know that? Some people think, they say, me, I want children to take care of you or care of me. Utajua hujui. Kwanza in this generation, those parents who think that your children will take care of you, maybe the way you've taken care of your parents, I want to tell you, please wake up, wake up, wake up. It's not going to be the case in many instances. In fact, I was asking my sons the other day that when I grow old, what will you do? Or they said it's simple, we'll just take you to an old people's home. like there's no debate. They said, oh, is that even a question? We just take you to an old people's home. I said, why? Me, I'm taking care of my mother. They said, that's you. And then I said, but you would not want me to live with you? They said, no, we'll be busy. We'll be busy. We'll be busy with our lives. You have raised us to give us wings to fly. So we will be flying all over the world. So here you can be with your fellow old people there. We will ensure you have everything you need. Well, I wasn't offended. Okay, I hope I wasn't offended. But I mean, it was, sorry. It was honest. And I said, yeah, I get that. I can understand what you're saying. So, I'm just trying to bust the myth that, I need to have children so that they can take care of me. Some people go to getting 10 children because they are looking for a boy child. Because they are saying, who is going to carry my name? Which name, my friend? Which name? Which name? Which name? So, because they are looking for a boy child. There is one author who says, a home without daughters is like a river without a source. So if you only have daughters, you're lucky, you're blessed. Because your river has a source. What again are you looking for? Because you have the river and the source. So what are you looking for? People getting to the point of they die because of trying to look for a boy child. I was working in a hospital at some point, and there was a colleague. Both of them were medics. They had, I think, 4 daughters. And the man kept on saying, I don't know why God is not blessing me with a daughter. What did I do? Why God is not blessing me with a son? What did I do to God? What did I wrong him so much that he's only giving me girls? I also want a son. I find that so blasphemous myself, because you have a child, and I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, they went ahead, and the wife was getting very difficult pregnancies, very difficult. And this person was a medic, so they know every pregnancy was a risk. And people talked to him, they said, God has blessed you with 4 wonderful daughters. He said, no, how can I not have a son? They went ahead, conceived the 5th time. I don't know whether it was a son or a daughter. I think it was a daughter. The wife went to give birth. When she went to get the child, she was in a hospital that didn't have blood. She needed urgent blood transfusion. There was no blood. And people had told him, because it's a 5th pregnancy that is complicated, go to like a national hospital where you can get all the services. He said, no, our grandmothers gave birth in the shamba. She will give birth. Anyway, she passed away and left a baby girl. Number 5, a young baby. Do you think that child will ever recover? And it was about, he just said, I didn't want many children, but surely God has to give us a son. God has to give us a son. You know that kind of thing? So sometimes some people think that, how can I have a future who is going to carry my name? I need to get a child. I need to have a husband. I need to have a wife so that I don't die alone. I told you there are people who are married and they have company, yes, but there are other people who are married and they are getting old alone and they die alone. So really it cannot be the only reason as to why you have to get married and get children, because you don't want to die alone. Sometimes some people are desperate because they think that they deserve a happy, fulfilling marriage. We talked a bit about entitlement. There are people who feel so entitled that they need to have a good spouse, that they need to have bountiful children. You deserve nothing. I deserve nothing. Deserve nothing. People just grow up so deserving. There are people who have told me, but how is it that in my family I'm the one who is not married, and I was the most beautiful, most hardworking? Me, I'm the one who was a virgin. I wasn't sleeping around. I did the right thing. I stayed in school. Why is it that I'm single and yet all my siblings are married? But grace is unmerited favor. We don't earn anything, and you don't deserve nothing. So if God has blessed you with a loving spouse, it is the mercies of God. It's the grace of God. If at the moment you're longing to have a spouse and you don't deserve, but God can bless you. It is mercies. So don't think that, why is it that I don't have? Somebody was telling me one time that the more I pray, the more other people get married. I pray for a spouse. Imagine, I pray for a spouse, other people get married. And then they say, I pray for a child, Other people get children. It's very interesting. God works in mysterious ways. When I was getting my children, my first 2 children are 1 year apart. In other words, I conceived when the baby was 5 months. And there were people I knew who were praying to get children. And I could even tell God, God, why couldn't you bless so and so? They have been waiting for a child for 10, 15 years. Me, I've not asked. I was even saying, please, God, let me take care of this one. Another one comes. Before I can breathe, another one comes. I said, God, this is very interesting. So sometimes you can think that, me, I'm praying. God himself knows. We don't know. It's God who knows the reason why things happen the way they do, and all things work together for the good. And we may not understand actually many things, but we will understand in the by and by. So when we feel entitled, that why is it that some people are blessed this way? One of my friends, when we were in the university, she was very active in Christian Union. And in this Christian Union, there was another young man who was also very active. This young man was physically very attractive. He was doing the right course. He came from the right family. And everything was just looking perfect at the time. So this lady, she's my friend. She told me, I really like so-and-so. And we are both serving in the Christian Union. I really like him. And he started talking to her. So we said, good. Everything is just perfection. We are even imagining how the wedding is going to be. They were both tall, from the same community, and we even already imagined their 2.5 children, even the names, how they will look like, worshipful names, everything. Imagine then the young man tells her, by the way, I really like your friend, and is there a way that you can introduce me to your friend? Does that sound familiar? And the friend was not from their community. And the friend was, no offense, shorter. How she was thinking me, we are the same height. The friend was short, small, not from the same community. Then she just told me, what do? I really like him. He has been talking to me. Kumbe, he wanted to get to my friend. I said, let the Lord have his way. You pray, introduce him to your friend. And I know she kept telling me all along, she kept saying, I just feel so sad that I thought he was interested in me and I liked him. Anyway, he married this other lady and they are happily married for close to 20 years now. My friend also married somebody else, also happily married, close to 20 years. So God knows all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. So that could be some of the reasons why you feel desperate. So I've said, maybe you have dependency issues, maybe a negative beliefs about yourself, about scarcity, about the future, about what you deserve. Could be that is fueling the feeling of singlehood. Can I tell you something? There is no single person in this planet who is designed to be your partner. Did you know that? There is no single person in this planet who is designed to be your partner. That is the false, wrong theology. That you have a rib, you have a twin flame, you have a soulmate. Wrong. People think so. There are people who are even married. They meet other people online. They start saying, this is my twin flame. And they want to leave their spouses to get the twin flame. That is new age myths that are destroying people's relationships. Can I confirm to you that there is no single person who is designed to be your partner? Let me demonstrate something right here. How many people have been married more than 5 years? You have been married more than 5 years, or you were married more than 5 years? You understand? I've seen hands. How many people here who have been married more than 5 years and they have not met someone else who they are attracted to? You think that? Don't look at pastor's wife now. Don't look at pastor's wife. Can I ask, did you understand my question? People are looking at my niece and nephew, Pastor Dan Abuya and the wife. People are looking at them. Don't look at them. Look at yourself. So anyway, look here. I'm asking. You have been married for more than 5 years, and before God today and before this congregation, you will say, I've never met someone who I looked at and I thought, okay, like where were you before I... or them the other way, or nobody else has looked at you and said, oh, you are interesting, and you are married. Let me tell you, no hand is going to go up. And if a hand goes up, that's a liar, or they have forgotten, or they didn't sleep well. What am I illustrating? I am telling you that even when you've been married, there will be chances, there will be opportunities, unless you're a very closed person, there will be times that you may meet someone and you think, I'm not saying you do anything with them, you haven't obviously, but you meet somebody and you connect with them so well. You still love your spouse and you're not planning to leave your spouse, but you meet somebody, you connect so well, you're like, okay, interesting. Or if you haven't, somebody else will meet you and they say, interesting, can we know each other more? Of course, you tell them, no, we can't know each other more. The window or the door was closed. But I mean, I'm demonstrating to you that there is no one person. So don't think if your spouse died that now you don't have a rib or a soulmate or a twin flame. No, that season ended. That phase ended. Wash yourself, comb your hair, change your clothes. Oga urudi soko. Si Ruth alioga akarudi soko. Kama Ruth hakuoga na kurudi soko, Christ would not have come from that genealogy. Do you understand? You know there's a reason as to why Christ came from that genealogy. A foreigner, a widow, alioga, akarudi soko, Christ came from there. Do you see that? So there's no single person that you say, you know, we have seen cases whereby one partner dies, a person dies, and their spouse follows them. Haven't we seen that? Within a short time. And the people think that they loved each other so much that the person cannot live without them. That is unhealthy. That is codependency. If you are in a place where you feel you cannot live without your spouse, ongea upone, pona. You should never be a place where you've put a human being on a pedestal where only God should be. So that you feel like, if this person was not there, how am I going to live? No. A human being is a human being, and God is God. Unless you die in an accident, even in the most loving marriage, one person will die and leave the other. Even in the most loving marriage. So what I'm trying to say is, you have yourself, you have your spouse, you have your life, and you have a life with your spouse. Some people may get offended. Like if they hear that, are you trying to say that if I died, my spouse would be sorrowful? She will, but she shouldn't be sorrowful forever, because you have rested, you're not in pain. So she should, or he should, feel sorrowful, but not forever. You know, there are people who make their spouses swear that when I die, you will not marry somebody else. You know, there are people on their deathbed, they make their spouse swear. There's a young lady who died. She was in her early 30s, I think 32. The husband was maybe about 40, and they had young children, I think 3 children or something, under 10. And on her deathbed, she told her husband, I know I am going, but please promise me one thing, that you will not bring another woman in my house. Is that fair? Is that fair? And he promised her that. So during the funeral, he stood up and he said, I will honor the promise that I have made to my departed wife not to marry another woman, because that is a promise I've made to her. And I think people might have told him, tema hayo mate. Spit that saliva, my friend. You can't say that. You cannot make a promise to a dead person that you will remain single for the rest of your life. No, you cannot. Maybe even if you did that time, but the promise no longer holds, because that person has died and Christ has set you free. Mourn, grieve, cry, but wash yourself and change your clothes and open another chapter of your life. You are not offending the departed person. You're not offending them because they have rested and the covenant you had with them has since ended. Okay. Sometimes some people say, oh, but my children, they will. It's important to prioritize your children, especially if they are very young, if they are tender in years. It's important to prioritize and give children also time to grieve. But sometimes children come from a place of fear because they are feeling like, if my mother or my father married, will we be special to them? Will we hold that special place in their heart? It's out of fear, but they need to be helped. Whenever I talk with my sisters, one of the things we always wish for our mother is that we wish she remarried because she was widowed in her 20s. But she could not because circumstances were that when you're married in the village, you are married to that community. It's complicated. So get married, how, remarry, go. It was complicated back then, but I think it's no longer complicated like it was. So we keep on saying, oh, we wish my mother remarried. Of course, it was not logistically possible at the time, but that is the one thing we say now. We say now because I personally never doubted her love for me. I knew she loved me and she will die for me. That's how I knew, because I had seen her putting her life on the line for me. So I had no doubt. So I would have been happy for her to get somebody else to share life with her. So there are some widowers who say, oh, I'm not going to have anybody else. I'll take care of my children. Take care of your children, but also remember to take care of yourself, that your children would love to have you happy, okay? Let me talk about what can you do if you feel desperate. What's the solution if you feel desperate? Number one, change your belief system. A lot of us are operating on a belief system that was handed to us by our ancestors. The ancestors have since died. Then you are holding those belief systems handed to you by your ancestors that they don't make sense anymore. When I was talking to the ladies of South Nairobi Kajiado Field, I was talking to them on the question of widowhood, singlehood, and remarriage. And one lady came and said, you're telling us to remarry? Me here, I have children. I even have grandchildren. When I remarry, what example am I giving my children? I said, you're giving them a great example of how to choose, prioritize yourself, and take care of yourself. So, we realized that this lady is carrying belief systems of, I told her, no, sikwambi ufanye usherati. Me, I'm not talking about usherati. I'm talking about getting married in a godly way. And we realized that the lady is carrying belief systems that were handed to her by her ancestors that do not make sense or whatever anymore. You see? So some of us are carrying belief systems. Some of us think we are too old. There are people who will be telling you the way they are old and they are 38. My friend, you are not yet born. Life begins at 40. You are 38 and you're saying old. Who is old? Who is old? What are you talking about? So they start saying, me, I'm even so old. I'm even so what? Who is old? What are you talking about that you're old? There was a research that was done in an old elderly home. The elderly were divided into two groups. Some were taken to a place and they were told to act like when they were 20 years younger. Let's say this way. This elderly, let's say they were 70 years. So a group was taken somewhere. They were told to act like they were 50. So they were told everything you used to do at 50 years, do it. And the other ones who was in the other place, they were left to just do things the way they were doing at 70. After 6 weeks, when they were tested, scans were done. The ones who were told to act like they are 50, their bodies had actually changed. Their bodies had changed. Their bodies were like for a 50-year-old. They had rewired their brain. They had reversed some of the conditions that they had because they were acting everything. You used to take a walk, you used to do this at 50, just do it. They were told, fake it. Just fake and start acting like a 50-year-old. And their bodies were transformed in 6 weeks. What are some of the things you have been doing because you think that I'm too old, and you're acting old, and by beholding, we become changed. Another thing that you can do is apply heavy doses of self-care. Take care of yourself. Some people feel guilty when they are taking care of themselves. Some people feel guilty. They feel guilty, especially mothers, especially women, especially ladies. They feel so guilty. Right now, if I take a lady and a man, for example, I give the lady 500 shillings, she will pass by the market on her way home. I'm just giving an example generally. She'll pass by the market, buy fruits, and go home. If I give a man, they'll pass by a place and eat some nice meal. And then, just an example, not everyone will do that, but an example, they'll get a nice meal and just go home with a toothpick in their mouth. Then they'll be saying, I'm feeling a bit tired, let me go to the bed. Because women are wired to think about children. When I worked in the community, we used to give, let's say, tea and mandazi. We have people from the community, from the informal settlement. They come and do work. So, of course, they are very tired and hungry. So we give them tea and bread. Then we noticed that the women used to get paper bags. You know paper bags, Jwala? They take the tea and pour it in the paper bag. Then they take the mandazi, they cover it in the serviette, put it in the handbag. So you're asking them, have you eaten? Tushakula. They have taken the tea, poured it in a paper bag, put it in their handbag, taken the mandazi, covered in the serviette, put in the handbag. Of course, the men are enjoying, nothing against men, by the way, I'm just saying. They're just enjoying, they're biting, they are eating. That is just the way we are wired. And it's not that these women are not hungry. They are so hungry. They have been on the road the whole day, working in the community. Then we just realized, we asked, why are you keeping this? They said, I cannot be taking tea and mandazi here and my children are hungry. I'm taking this so that they can share the mandazi and the tea. Then we realized we can do things differently. So instead of tea and mandazi, we started buying bread and a packet of milk. So we would give everybody, now because it was almost the same price, we give them a packet of milk and bread. If you want to take your packet of milk and bread, take. If you want to carry, then they would now, obviously, carry. That was a way that was helping them. I'm not telling you to eat tea and bread, so don't say she was preaching that we eat tea and bread. You know, Adventists mean our ogopa sana. Somebody just gives an example, then somebody cuts this clip. They go put it on social media. Then they say, Rose Misati telling people to be taking tea and bread in the South Church. You don't get the context. I mean, yeah, so please get the context that I'm saying. And don't ask me a question about, so you told us tea and bread, is it healthy? Doesn't it have gluten? Whatever, wherever that is, but you get the example. So they would carry and take it to their children. So I was talking about self-care. So you will find when, for example, this lady, this mother, has been sacrificing herself so much, eventually you are telling her to take care of herself. Everything she thinks in terms of, hii itasaidia mtoto wangu in this way. This one can help my child in this way. It's okay to take care of your children, but also you need to teach your children how somebody takes care of themselves. If your children never see you taking care of yourself, it's not easy for them to know that you need to be taken care of. They will think that you are a rock. I saw my adult children would go and fry eggs for themselves and put an avocado. I don't know what is this about avocado. They put a whole avocado, they fry eggs, then they serve everything in a plate. And they just come and they are eating. So I'm asking, okay, have you left something for me? I want to eat. They're like, oh, you also wanted. So I say, but when I go to prepare, I prepare for you. They fried all the eggs and all the avocado, they have everything and they are eating. Everything. I said, but I've not had lunch. They say, kwani hata we mami unakula? Imagine. They say, and then if I prepare something and I'm eating, they almost get offended. Like, why are you eating before I eat? But then I realized I have conditioned them to know that Mama gives them everything, she neglects herself. So I quickly had to change the narrative. So I started boiling eggs and eating all of them. I just boil. Please, I'm not telling you to boil and eat everything, but I was teaching them a lesson. So I boiled 3 eggs, I ate all of them. Don't tell me whether they're healthy or not. The point is I ate the 3 eggs. And then my son said, "Umenibakishia maya?" I said, "No, I ate all of them." He said, "But why?" And he's so offended. I said, "No, I just wanted to boil the 3. There is other food today. I just wanted to eat eggs. I ate all of them." Then he just said, "Unajua mimi sijakuzoea hivyo. I don't know you this way." I'm like, "Now you need to know me better. You need to know me better." Because I realize I have to quickly correct that narrative that me, I only drink water. Of course, I don't only drink water, or I eat leftovers. They knew that me, I'm the garbage can, that mommy will eat leftovers. After people have eaten wameshiba, then I'll be like, munatupa, let me eat this. No, I'm not eating leftovers anymore. Me, I'm serving myself first. So I realize I need to decondition them from the fact that me, I don't need to be taken care of, okay? So take care of yourself, because when you don't take care of yourself, you become desperate. You start looking for somebody to take care of you. Find other ways to have your needs met. You may feel lonely, but you need to find other ways to have your needs met. Talk to friends, join a book club, serve in church, exercise, do something, join a community group to do charity work, join a group, belong to a community. You need social connection. That way you don't feel so desperate and so lonely. Another thing you can do is act until you make it. I don't want to say fake it until you make it, but let me say act it until you make it. You may feel desperate, but please don't act desperate. Don't feel desperate, yes, but don't act desperate. Act like somebody who knows what they are doing, confident, loving themselves, positive. You eventually become that way. Don't take rejection personally. If somebody is not interested in you, don't take that rejection personally. It is just that you're not a good fit. Don't say, "Oh, they rejected me. Oh, they left me." No, you are not a good fit. So accept that you're not a good fit, not that they have rejected you. Because when you use such words on yourself, that they rejected me, you begin to act like a reject. Okay? The other thing is that never ever say die, never give up, never give up. If you desire to find love, never give up. I watched a video of a lady who was born without limbs. She doesn't have her legs, she doesn't have hands, and she got married to a loving man at the age of 48. They now have 2 children. Wonderful husband. At the age of 48, she was born without limbs. Both hands and legs, okay? And I also know another lady who is renowned, and she got married at 60. And when I listened to her, she's a renowned person. She says she decided never ever to settle. She was not going to compromise. She was never going to compromise because at the old age or what. So she remained true to herself, a godly lady. Eventually a loving man came her way. It's not about the number of years that you're married. There are people who like to pride themselves, wanaturingia, that you have been married for 48 years. But of those 48 years, it has been sorrow, bitterness, anger, and misery. There are people who have been happy for 50 years, I'm happy for you. But there are people, they tell you 48, you're like, oh my God, I'm happy I've not been there those 48 years. So it's not about the number of years, but it's about how much life and joy have you had in those number of years, okay? So let me share with you, so single and satisfied. That was the first part, how you can be single and satisfied so that you're not desperate. Let me share the last part, then I can take any questions or comments. As a single person, how can you be sanctified so you can be single and satisfied? You're not desperate, and we have talked about what to do to deal with desperation. How can you be sanctified as a person? Sanctification in this context is a work of a lifetime, and it's the process of recovery from the damage that the devil has caused. So it's a lifetime of sanctification. The Lord sanctifying you from and helping you recover from the damage that the devil has caused. Some of us right now, we are dealing with intergenerational pain. the damage that the devil caused to our ancestors is what we are experiencing now, some of us. What do? I will share 7 steps that you can take to be sanctified as a single. The first thing I want to say is, take the necessary steps to heal from your past hurts. Take necessary steps to heal from your past hurts. Some of us have unforgiveness, we have been abused, we have been abandoned, and we are projecting that pain on other people. We are recycling that pain. We were rejected, abandoned, and some of it is intergenerational pain. You know, there are families that have generations of single fatherlessness. Let me say, have you seen? There are people who have generations of fatherlessness because there is pain that has been in that family, and now people are inheriting that pain. They are not healing from that pain, so it's a generation of fatherlessness. A certain lady told us in another place, that there were born 5 sisters in that family. 5 sisters. Out of those 5 sisters, 4 of them are widowed and they are HIV positive. 5 sisters, 4 of them are widowed and they are living with HIV. So they are raising fatherless children and they are HIV positive. You can think that it's a coincidence, but there is a possibility that it is intergenerational. There is an intergenerational pain of fatherlessness, of promiscuity, of immorality, not on the part of the sisters, but on the choices that they make. And sometimes I get very interested to know, tell me about your father. Tell me about what was modeled to you. Tell me about your grandfather. And 90% of the time, people are replaying intergenerational patterns of fatherlessness. So it's important for you to break that pattern so that you can say, it ends with me. A while back, maybe some time back in most of our communities, before you married or got married, they would send messengers, emissaries to go to that place. They walk around in the village and they ask about this family. They say, okay, they're just walking on the road. They say, tell me about such and such a family. They will hear and then they will know. They will ask some of the questions they used to ask. Is there mental illness? Suicide? Has anybody committed suicide? Is there alcoholism? Is there fatherlessness? They would ask that. That was very important. And you may say, oh, it's very unfair. I'm not saying you ask so that you can leave somebody, but you can ask so that you are aware which demons you are fighting or which patterns. Let me not say demons because that would be something else, but what patterns you're fighting. It's important for you to know, because usually what happens, and I will say this very carefully, when somebody has been raised in a family, for example, that is fatherless, you can see the possibilities of raising a child without a father. I mean, the possibilities are open to you. So when life presents an opportunity, you can easily jump at it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or is it complicated? Do you understand what I'm saying? So wherever you have grown up in, there are patterns that are familiar to you. For example, if somebody has grown up in a family where there is alcoholism, for example, when they get a partner who is an alcoholic, it's more familiar to them. Okay, thanks. It's more familiar to them. And their nervous system, their body is familiar to that kind of thing. When people have been raised in a family where there was abuse is familiar to them. So when somebody would be mistreating them, they are familiar to it, because most of these things, it's like an electric shock. You touch it the first time, you get shocked. The second time, you begin getting more and more familiar. So it is familiar. You are familiar with a certain pattern. And all of us are familiar with something. And it's okay to continue in that familiarity if that's your choice. That's also okay. But what I'm talking about, if you're not okay with that pattern, it is important for you to take the necessary steps so that you can break the pattern. You can say, I have seen in my family, this is the case, but this is not going to be my case. A certain lady told me, she's a single mother, and when I was talking to her, she said, my great-grandmother was single, my grandmother was single, my mother was single, and I'm also now a single mother. It's a pattern of fatherlessness. Remember, I've not said a pattern of single motherhood. I'm choosing my words very carefully. There's a pattern of fatherlessness because she's familiar to being raised without a father, so no big deal. So when an opportunity presents itself, or even when she has an opportunity to get married, she says, no big deal, me, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. My grandmother was raised that way, my mother, me, we are not lacking anything, so we are okay. So those patterns, let me leave it at that point. Now, the other thing that you can do is change the messages you tell yourself. Change the messages you tell yourself, and even the messages you tell other people. What do you tell yourself deep down regarding your desirability? What do you believe about men? What do you believe about women? If you find somebody making sweeping statements that are negative about men, or making sweeping statements that are negative about women, you know that they are coming from a place of pain. And some people have negative statements about themselves. So change the messages you talk about yourself, the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about other people, the brand, the names you give them. You need to change those messages. Another thing that you need to do to be a sanctified single, affirm yourself every day using Bible promises. Every day, affirm yourself using Bible promises. The Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. I'm created fearfully and wonderfully. We are more than conquerors in Christ. So change, affirm yourself every day. The other thing you can do is take steps to meet new people. Don't have that triangle of home, church, work. You know, there are people who have that triangle: home, church, work. You cannot even dress up and just go somewhere and just go buy for yourself something to drink. And sometimes some people have remained in a church congregation for 20 years. What are you doing in one church for 20 years, by the way? 10 of those years you were in treasury. 5 years you were the church clerk. Another 5 years you were a leader in the church. It's very intimidating. And you sing in the church choir. If it's having you, it's okay. But sometimes you can also become very familiar in a congregation that people know you at a certain way. It is okay, by the way, to actually move from one congregation to another. I'm not saying you are not leaving church. You are moving from one congregation to another so that you can have a fresh start. You can even move to another city if you have that as a possibility. When I was speaking to widows in Kisii, they were telling me, they don't know what to do because they are so stuck in the village, and some of them are very young. And I asked them, is it possible also that you can move out of this Kisii land and go to another place? They said it's actually possible. I said, but why don't you do it? They say, what will people say? I say, which people exactly? Which people are we talking about here? So I said, you are a teacher, get a transfer, go to Msambweni. Get a transfer, go to Eldoret. You are a nurse, go to Tenwek, go to some place. You are doing business, go to Nairobi and start selling your njugu karanga there. Move. One widow was saying, all my children have gone to school, they are now in Nairobi, they work in Nairobi, they do what I said. But why don't you come to Nairobi? Why are you staying here in the village? What exactly are you taking care of? Because she told me she desires to get married. Say, there's no villager here who is going to marry you. There's no villager here. Because they are looking at you, they are still calling you wife to the late. Please, go to people who don't have that history about you. So it is okay for you to take steps to go to a place where you can meet other people. Change. Have a fresh start in life. You can even go abroad if you have a possibility. I know widows who have moved to other continents and they are happily married, and I'm happy for them. They moved from that continent, they went. The other thing you can do is now list down the qualities of what you really want in a partner. There are people who want to get married, but they have no idea who, they're just general, they have no idea. And then I tell them, unless you want anything that is breathing, but if you want a particular person, you need to be clear. What are you looking for? What exactly are you looking for in a person? If you're very specific on what you're looking for, you will get it. And I'm not talking about you're being very choosy, okay? I'm talking about what are your bare minimums? What standards do you have? And even as you put that list down, develop all those qualities in yourself. Don't say, I want a wealthy person, and you're not wealthy. Where are you going to meet that wealthy person? Because the wealthy, I'm just using wealth as an example, because the wealthy congregate at a certain place. They won't find you wherever you are. So you have to you want a sporty person, but you don't exercise. So where are you getting that physically fit person? You have to walk, you have to run, go to the gym, join a gym. Then you will get the fit people there who are training in the gym. You want a person who eats healthy, but you're going to KFC, whatever. Go to the market. You will find people there on Sunday morning in the market, also buying food, So whatever you're looking for, develop those qualities, because health attracts health. Dysfunction attracts dysfunction. So whatever you are looking for, become that thing and look for it. And finally, come up with a list of non-negotiables, deal breakers. Deal breakers. There are people who would come and tell me, I was with so and so, they were hurting me, they shout at me, they do this, and I say, wait, what are your deal breakers? And they have none. If you have no deal breakers, then you will not know when somebody has crossed the line. Or they say, one of my deal breakers is abuse. But you're being abused. So is that really a deal breaker? Because a deal breaker means there is no deal. If this happens, I'm gone, So you need to be very clear. This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I will not tolerate. And of course, if you're a mature person, your deal breakers are not going to be more than 3 or 5 items. Because again, if there are so many deal breakers, then you need to ask, do I really understand? Do I really know myself? So how do you become sanctified as a single? Take steps to heal. Change your messages. Affirm yourself every day. Take action steps to meet new people. There's another one there. List down qualities of what you really want. Develop those qualities. Come up with a list of deal breakers. And then don't have a timeline. Don't have a timeline. Don't say, if I don't get someone, if I don't get married by the end of this year, I'm doomed. No, you are not. You're not doomed. The Lord makes everything beautiful in His own time. Let me end my presentation this afternoon with 2 short stories. Then I can take any questions or comments, maybe even online if there are any. So one of them, there's a certain lady in a church I used to go to. She was a single lady. She had a son. She was very hardworking, very godly. She loved her son so much. And she was just busy with her life. And she was not, when we used to talk, she was not even talking about, getting married or whatever. She was just doing the right thing. She was about 43, 45. Now, the pastor got widowed. The pastor lost his wife. Not a pastor of that church, but a pastor within them, community. He lost his wife. And this pastor identified this lady. Of course, it was within a duration. So don't think I'm saying pastor lost his wife today, tomorrow he married her. That is the story of Simeon Makonde. I'm not talking about Simeon Makonde here. So, sometimes you can be quoted out of context. You said, so the pastor married immediately. That's not okay. He needed to heal. No, that's not the story. So the pastor identified her. This lady was wondering, there are younger ladies in the congregation. She's a single mom of a growing son, a teenager. The pastor had a son as well. The pastor said, no, you're the one I want to marry. Anyway, they got married. And I remember people in the congregation, some people were saying, but how can pastor marry a single mother? But pastor is also a single father. that, oh, he's a pastor. He cannot marry a single mother. There are younger ladies, virgins here, a pastor can marry. Then people start saying, but she's 40-something. She won't get a child for pastor, but pastor has a child and she has a child. Which other children again? So people were really contesting. You remember what we said in the morning? Righteous, more righteous than I. So the people in their self-righteousness, they're like, we have daughters here who are befitting to be a pastor's wife, not this single mother. In fact, she's even too independent. She even has her own car. She even has her own plot of land. No. The pastor said, no, this is the lady I have picked. So they got married. Beautiful wedding. The sons loved each other. The sons just became so close. The lady's son and the pastor's son. And the pastor was just glowing. And they both just glowed. And they looked so young and so beautiful and so happy together. And they would walk holding hands. And people started saying, now pastor was not holding hands with his late wife. He's holding hands. Did he even kill the wife? Imagine, instead of people being happy for them, now it's like he wanted the wife to die. She died of cancer, and it's like he's too happy. They are too happy. And people would make snide comments to this lady. They would make funny comments. They're like, hey, now sijui, very mean comments. I won't say them. But the point I'm saying, and they were happy. My goodness, I saw a total transformation in both of them. And when the pastor would go and they would officiate weddings, some of the minutes he will take extolling the virtues of his wife. And they lived happily ever after. And they are happy together. And the children love each other so much, the two boys. And that was a beautiful story. Yeah? Another story of a client of mine, she has shared the story publicly. She has allowed me to share. So this lady was in a group of friends. And all her friends got married. I met her in one of the bridal parties. I noticed that she was very beautiful and fit, but bitter. I could see her body was very healthy, strong, fit. She was extremely beautiful, but she was bitter. I could see the way she was talking. She was just looking bitter. Then when we finished the bridal shower, I had never met her before. So when the bridal shower ended, or the following day, she called me. She said, I heard you speak and I think you're the person who can help me. I said, how do you want me to help you? She said, I have gone to many counselors for help, have not been helped. I think you can help me. I said, I don't think I can help you. Because the way she talked, I'm like, this one will be the great disappointment. So I told her, I don't think I can help you. She said, no, you can help me. I said, I'm not sure. Then she sent me the payment for the sessions. Full payment. I said, you've paid everything. She said, because I feel you can help me. I didn't want to return the money. So I needed the money. I didn't want to return. So I said, okay, because you have sent me the money, then let's begin the work. So we started. So part of what we found was she came from, there was pain that she was carrying and abuse and many things. So along the way, one of the things I told her is to take steps to do things that she likes. And she had urgency. She kept on saying, but do you realize that all my friends are married? All my friends are married. That's what she kept saying. I told her, no, do something that you really like. At some point, we used to have a session. She would get so angry at me and cut the phone. Like she could get so angry because I'm telling her to be patient. She says, you don't understand me. For how long were you single? She disconnects the phone on me. Then later she calls me to apologize. Anyway, it was a circus. Now, she decided, she said, because you have recommended that I do the things I like, I will do it. And if I don't succeed, you're the one to blame. If I don't get a man, you're the one to blame. I said, continue. She likes to bike. So she started going for long distance biking. So she would just go to bike over the weekend. She goes to church on Sunday. So Saturday she would bike the whole day. Then Sunday go to church, come home, do her cooking, clean up, sleep, then go to work during the week and go to school. So one time she calls me, she says, we need a session. I need to update you. I said, okay, what is it? She said, I have met somebody who is a perfect fit for me, and I want you to take us through premarital. So I asked her, how did it happen? She said, you told me to continue biking. So one Saturday, she went to bike in the mountains with a group of people. She met a young man there at the biking, but of course they didn't talk. They just saw each other. Then on Sunday, when she went to church, she met this young man in the same church. Everything, I had told her to do a list. The way I've just said, develop a list. He ticked every box. Every box. Everything she had written, the young man ticked. So she said, we have been relating for some months, maybe a year, and there are no surprises. It's like everything tick, tick. So I am doubting whether it's delulu. So I'm delusional. So please, I just want you to take us through premarital sessions so that you can help me see with the third eye, maybe I'm mistaken. So I took them through sessions. Tick, tick, tick. It was looking like it's too good to be true. And these people look alike. You think they're twins. So they went ahead, they got married. She said, maybe we are yet to get surprises. A year later, no surprise. Second year, she calls me, she says, I want to share good news. We are expecting our firstborn. Got a child. 3 years. She said, I want us to talk. I said, what is it? She said, there is no surprise. Everything is the way I saw. Tick, tick, tick. This thing is just too good to be true. Tick, tick. Happily married, more than 3 years. They have a child. Happy, 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 happy. I told her, those are the stories I like to hear. Now, there's a twist to that. All her friends, all who had gotten married during that time that she was desperate, they are all divorced or separated. All of them. All the friends who had gotten married, who she was telling me that, me now I'm the one who is left and I'm beautiful and what, they are all divorced or separated. You know why? Because when they were hanging around together, they were all in pain. They were all broken, quote unquote. You know, birds of a feather flock together. So they were all birds of a broken feather, all of them. So all the friends are married or are divorced or separated. She's the only one. Happily married, more than 4 years, no problem. Of course, they don't have, an issue. You can say they are happy married with a child. You see? So she has been sending her friends to me and saying, I'm just sharing with my friends that it works if somebody heals from their pain so that they don't project recycled pain. Of course, she's a Christian, so she has always been praying. So please, I'm not saying you don't pray. She has always been praying and faithful to God. So all those other things were there. What was missing is that she had come from a family where there was domestic violence. So every time she was in a relationship, she was ready to fight. There are some of us who come with our weapons. We are like Mau Mau, going to the forest to fight British soldiers. We come with our weapons. So she had her weapons. So every time something doesn't seem okay, she was always ready to fight. So she didn't change the world, she just changed herself. It's easier to put sandals on your feet than to carpet the whole world. There are people who are seated in the singles corner or the youth corner, and they are busy saying, talk to those women, talk to those men. They need to change. They need to treat us better. Those men, tell them. No, we are not telling nobody. We are telling you today. You're the one who needs to change. Amen? Okay, maswali. Comment anything that is not clear so that you don't go confused. Start asking Pastor Dan. And the speaker said this. What did she mean? I know what I meant. So can you please ask if you want to write, you can write and pass the note to me. We have a mic there. Adventists normally do not ask. The moment one person raises their hand, everybody's hand is up. Why do we do that? Okay, is there anybody who has a question or a comment? If we have any from online, I can respond before we call it a day. We have an online or this? Maybe I'm not seeing the hand. You can stand if I'm not seeing your hand. Okay, there's one there. There's a young girl who has a question. Please give her the mic. Was it a very difficult topic? Thank you so much. Pastor is here with me, and Dr. Ann is here, so they will help me respond to the question.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy day.
Happy day. So I have a question. When you say that there is no one person for you, especially in the context of remarrying, in the case of widowhood, it makes sense. But then, what can you say in the case of not just being married to anyone, but to a suitable partner?
Sorry, the last sentence.
What can you say in the case of not just being married to anyone, but to a suitable partner? Well, for example, you have heard of instances when someone will tell you they were praying for a marriage partner. Probably they had two people in mind, and then God tells them that this is the one.
How does God tell them that this is the one?
Okay, I don't know if you've understood the question.
Yeah.
So you said that there is like this notion like you're coming from one rib, it's not supposed to be there.
Yes.
So that for those who are left probably young, they can continue their lives. Yeah. But then we are making an assumption this is probably a young person, they are looking for a partner. So will they go with that notion that you can just be married to anyone?
Correct. So love is a choice. Love is a choice. God has given you the capacity to choose a befitting partner. So it's not that you can be married by anyone, but the thing is that it's not just one person. For everything God created, there is always a substitute. It's only one Savior that you have, only one Savior, Jesus Christ. So the thing is, there are many people who you can be happily married to. There are many people, but then you choose. You choose. So that means that even when you're in marriage and you keep seeing other people, you chose to be with this one. And you make it work with this one. Because sometimes you think the grass is green at the other side, but because maybe it's watered by sewage or it's being watered. So the point is, as a young person, there are many people who can be your spouse, but you choose. You choose the best or you choose the right one. And when you have chosen one person, do not be double-minded, because a double-minded man or woman is unstable in all his ways. So you have chosen this person, you make it work. There is no one person, of course, unless there is abuse or infidelity. I'm not talking about where somebody is being harmed, but I'm talking about where someone keeps looking and saying, I should have looked better. This one looks better. This one looks what? You can be married by many people, and you choose. You have a choice. I am very wary of people who say, God chose a person for me. I really worry about that, because I wonder why God would give me desires and yet choose for me. There's a man in a certain church, a young man, who said, God, the person you are going to bring to sit next to me, that is the one I will marry. So he was seated in the church. Then someone came who was in a wheelchair. There's nothing wrong with someone who's in a wheelchair, but there are people who are called in marriages like that, and they have what it takes. He looked and said, God, no. That's not what I meant. But then he said, God brought this person to me because I prayed. He married this lady in a wheelchair, but he really mistreated her. Because he just kept saying, God, you're the one who brought her. You're the one who brought her. You're the one who brought her. So the thing is this: pray and fast and develop yourself as a person. But God has given you a brain. He has given you desires. We have a crop of young people who are marrying people they are not attracted to. How do you even get somebody you're not attracted to? Romantically, physically, you're not attracted to them, but you're getting married to them. That I am getting married, so that the mission of the Lord can be accomplished. Wrong. Marriage is not an evangelistic campaign. No, you cannot preach, convert, and marry. That cannot work. It's not charity. You can't be in charity mode forever. Charity, you do it, then you go home. You need to have somebody who you delight. You delight in the person. You are attracted to them. They please you. So God has given you desires. He has given you wisdom. He has given you a choice. Pray that he will enable you to choose. And when you have chosen that person, you are not perfect. You have stretch marks. Okay. So you cannot expect a flawless person when you have blackheads and stretch marks yourself. So you get somebody, love covers a multitude of all sins, not abuse, not infidelity. That's not what I'm talking about. Is that clear? Okay, good. Anybody else?
Happy Sabbath. Happy day. I have a question. I have two questions. One is I had a friend that actually they were married. He actually married a certain lady. They got a child and then divorced, or else things did not go well. They didn't actually divorce. They separated. But the lady still stood still, being single. And the guy remarried again. Can we have men who are single? Or is it healthy for a man to be single? That is my first question. My second question is based on what we've learned today and basing it on the Bible. In the book of Genesis 21, we find a lady known as Hagar. She got Ishmael as a child. And then Sarah tells Abraham to cast away Hagar. Then Abraham does the says, as Sarah says, helped by God. Where can we place Hagar in the face of singleness?
Good. Was that the two questions? They sound theological. Pastor, maybe if you have something to say in regards to that. Sorry? Oh, yeah. So Pastor will respond to the theological questions. But meanwhile, if we have any other life relationship questions, you can ask me.
Good afternoon. My question is, how do you overcome grief without being judged?
Without being judged.
Is there a better way that you can just overcome grief without thinking, oh, okay, maybe they're going to judge me? And then two, is there a pattern of moving on? How long should someone take to move on?
Okay, so those are two questions the way I'm understanding. Number one, how to overcome grief. Number two, about judgment. So first, we will focus inward, overcoming grief. I would like to say coping with grief. I don't think you can overcome grief. I don't think you can move on from grief, personally. I feel that when we lose a loved one, our life changes forever. We will never be the same person again. Our life change. So many times we stay in that place of suffering when we think that our life can go back. So we are holding on to a season that has since ended. I have lost people who are very close to me. My life changed. My life will never be the same again. And for some of them, it has been many years, over 20 years, but I know I'm not the same person since I lost those people. So you don't overcome grief, you cope with grief, or you live with it, okay? Accepting that your life will be different and open to the possibilities that God has for you. Because people have started ministries out of grief. Because you realize I can't just be the only one, because there's nothing new under the sun. There's somebody else who has overcome that. I mean, not overcome, but who is coping. So what you do, allow yourself to grieve. If you want to grieve, if you want to cry, scream, journal, do everything, whatever you want to do, you have to bring it out. Do everything that you do, because it won't be the same forever. It's going to change from a wound to a scar. You know, a wound is bleeding and painful, but a scar is not painful, but the mark is there. So the mark will be there forever, but you will not be in pain. If you realize that it has taken 6 months, more than 6 months, and you're not getting better, perhaps you need to seek professional help. 6 months and you're not feeling a bit better, not that you have healed completely, but 6 months you're not feeling better, perhaps you need to seek professional help, because you may be getting into complicated grief, okay? So you need to talk to somebody. That brings me to the next point of without being judged. People will always judge, more righteous than I. Even us, we are those people, we judge. So if we focus on being judged by people and what, you will not get to your destination if you are throwing a stone at every dog that is barking at you. People will say all manner of things. Even at that point of the funeral, they'll be telling you to move on. I usually just tell people, like Job's friends, can you learn to shut up? Because the moment sometimes we speak, we mess up everything. But humanity is humanity. People will always judge. But where is your focus? Are you focusing on healing, or are you focusing on people? Forgive people who have said words that have hurt you, because maybe they are coming from a place of confusion, awkwardness, or lack of knowledge. They don't know any better. So forgive them. And I also tell people, you also need to be able to advocate for yourself. You need to speak up. You know, there have been times when something has happened. Maybe I've lost a loved one and I'm grieving and I'm posting in maybe a family group or somewhere in a WhatsApp group where, you know, we are grieving. Then I post something and then somebody starts throwing a verse at me. I tell them, excuse me, I don't need a sermon. I don't need preaching. I've read my Bible. Don't. Or somebody says, post a prayer. I say, no, don't pray for me. I wasn't asking for prayers. I was just saying how I feel. Does that sound unkind? People get shocked. But I just realized that I can only speak for myself. So if you start talking, sometimes you can start speaking and crying, then people tell you don't cry. I tell them, you cannot tell me what to do and what not to do. Many people are uncomfortable with their emotions, so they cannot handle somebody's emotions. They are very quick to tell you what to do and what not to do, and telling you not to cry, be strong. The worst thing, one of the worst things you can tell somebody is be strong. Please stop using that word. Don't tell somebody be strong. Don't tell somebody you are a strong person. They are not. Don't tell somebody it shall be well. It will not, and it's okay. There are times it's not well, but it will be okay. So you can actually tell people, you just say, imagine I don't appreciate that. So me, whenever I post where there's a grief, I say, excuse me, the sermonizers, this is not your post. The prayer warriors, this is not your post. Swipe left. Just leave it. It's not for you. Because I realize that sometimes people in their love, they want to say, they want to pray for you, they want to tell you what to do, and they end up hurting you. Or sometimes people can tell you, I understand. You don't. I know what you're feeling. You don't. Even if you have lost a partner and somebody else has lost a partner, they still don't understand how you feel. Because the way what their partner was to them is not what your partner was for you, okay? So accept that people will judge and may not understand. Forgive people who have said things that have hurt you. Let people know that for now, I don't want sermons. I don't want prayer. You can pray for me elsewhere and let me cry. When I'm crying, just let me. And let us learn also as a people, if we are visiting somebody who is grieving and they are crying, don't start a song. Just don't start a song. Just let them cry. Just let them cry. Give them that space and just be there. Ministry of presence, and let them cry. Because people feel shut when you want to quickly sing, it is well, it is well. They start saying, Kwani, am I such an unbeliever that you know this? You can understand what I'm saying. Yeah, but I know it's a long process. A lot of us don't understand how to be there for a grieving person. And it's not because we are coming from a malicious place. But everything I know it's done with good intentions. But it still hurts. I hope that helps you. Is there any other? Okay, I don't see any other hand. Is there? Okay, I have one here. Oh, okay, fine. Is there any online? Then I can give Pastor. Oh, there's one. Then.
Good evening. Could be on that was Zena. Yeah, could be. There's a verse that we read many times when people are grieving in the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 3, verses 13. It's actually much more. It makes meaning much more after the burial, after people have finished the process of burial and all those. It has more meaning where it says, brethren, I pray that you do not grieve as those who are not believers. That is where the judgment she was talking about comes in. That you will find that after we finished grieving, then this verse comes much more, speaking to us that even as we want to cope with what has taken place, let us cope with it as those who have hope. Because it is at this point that the devil comes in and wants to give us means and ways in which we can cope with it, but which are not godly. And that is where the word of God now says, as you keep grieving, as you keep mourning, do not mourn and grieve like those who do not have hope, but mourn as those who have hope, for there is still hope in the Lord. So even as we go on in this, as we recover, as you recover, our prayer is, let you anchor on the Lord, because he asks all to guide you to grieve, cope with it, and continue living as one who has hope. It's our prayer for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elder, for that actually. And some of the ways we can grieve like those who have no hope is engaging in self-destructive practices. Like maybe drinking, maybe smoking, using substance, engaging in sexual practices that are not godly. You know, those are some, or even some people get into witchcraft. You remember the story of Samuel, of Saul and the witch at Ender, where he went to ask to see Samuel? So sometimes I like what you just said, Elder. So even as you grieve, not to grieve in ways of non-believers. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Anybody else before I can say my closing remarks and then give, okay. Let me say my remarks and then I can give Pastor a chance to speak and then we end. I know that today was not about grief, but because of the question that has been asked, I feel like maybe I need to talk just a little bit, then I will end on the part of grief. The more I'm interacting with people who are dealing with grief and loss, the more I'm learning to speak less and less. I'm actually learning to speak less and less. And I am repenting more and more for some of the things that I said or I did to people that were hurtful at the time, you know, as I'm getting to understand, okay? And perhaps what I just want to say is, I said less talking and more action. Let's endeavor to be the Bible and to be Christ. Much more. To somebody who is grieving, a lot of things don't make sense. So be Christ. Pray for yourself. Study your word. Be Christ. And be the Bible. Much more than using empty words. Short story. I have a lot of stories. Short story. A certain lady, I've shared this story before. A certain lady was not an Adventist. She was raised in a different church, so she married her husband, who was an Adventist. He was an Adventist, but not so committed. So when she came to the Adventist church, she became more committed than the husband. Isn't that a familiar story? So she became very committed in clubs. Her children were very active in clubs. So she was very active. Then her husband, she was even serving in the deaconry. Her husband got very, very sick, very sick. She wasn't working at the time. She was a homemaker. The husband lost his job because of being sick. They needed a lot of money for him to go to treatment outside the country. He was very, very sick. They didn't have money. So when people heard, when it was announced that the husband is very sick, he needs to go abroad, the church they were going to, they announced, you know, like the way we announce here, and people said visit and condole with them. So people decided after church, they all gathered. It's a big church. They went and filled her house. And they went to her house on that Sabbath, and they went with singing. You know the way we go, almost marching, the full parade. They went with singing into that home. You know, glory, hallelujah. You know, they went singing, they entered that house, and they filled their house. That was lunchtime, okay? That was lunchtime. They filled their house. Is it to me or prayer? Anyway, so it was meant to be to me. Write another one. Ameweka kwa prayer box. So let me shorten it. So he didn't get proper instruction. You can give him another one. So get the story. So they sang, they preached. It was over lunch hour on Sabbath. They had obviously not eaten. This lady didn't have any money. Have you been in a place where you don't have money for food? She didn't have any money. But the entire church, not the entire church, but I'm saying for context, they have filled the house. So what did she do? She went to the kiosk outside on the Sabbath, borrowed milk and bread to make tea and bread for these people, these Sabbath keepers of her church. So not the church she had joined. She made it for them. They ate, they drank, they sang, they did what? They left. True story. She told me the story. So they left. The following day, when the church she belonged to, they heard that her husband is sick. The women in the church, they mobilized themselves. Then they came, they passed by the market. They shopped almost the entire market. They came to the supermarket, they shopped because they figured somebody was the breadwinner. He has been sick for long. They are broke. They have young children. They came with that entire shopping, put it in their house. They cleaned the dirt these people, Sabbath keepers, had left. They cleaned the house because this lady the husband was so sick. She was caregiver 24 hours. She didn't even have a time to clean. They cleaned that house completely. They entered the kitchen. They cooked food because there was no food in that house. They cooked food. They did not pray. They did not sing. They did not preach. This was their day of worship. They did none of those. They brought food to the table. The lady ate a meal and her children. A meal they had not eaten for days and they had a debt at the shop. So they were left with food and she was left with shopping that her children, it was during the holiday. The children ate for the entire holiday. They put money together. They gave her an envelope of money and said, I know you need this money. They gave her. I have a question for you. It's a very unfortunate story, but I'm sharing it so that we can understand sometimes how in our goodness we can hurt people. Now, this is my question. Which church are these children going to go to? Which church are the children going to go to? Did this second church preach? Did they pray? Did they sing a word? But they were Christ. They were the Bible. So she told me, Rose, I know I have come to your church. You've told me you are the remnant church. You have told me you have the truth. That truth, I have not seen it. My children have not seen that truth. Because even their father is not so committed in this church. We are the ones who came and embraced. So she said, I don't know. My children are choosing. They have chosen which church they want to go to. Yeah. How do we redeem ourselves? How can the Lord redeem us from such situations? And I know you will tell me, I've challenged Adventists, you will tell me, it was on the Sabbath. They could not shop, but they ate on the Sabbath. Why did they drink the tea and the milk? And then we pay our tithe through M-Pesa. Why couldn't they put something through M-Pesa? They put something together, and then they just say, we were just coming from church. We couldn't pass anywhere. You can take these 2,000 shillings and buy fruits for the sick person. Was that too hard to do? Who told them to sing? Did they ask the family, which is your favorite hymn? Who told them? Did they ask, can we pray? Which song can we sing? Did they ask? So we need to challenge ourselves and ask ourselves, do unto others what you would done unto you. Ask, what does this person need at this time? I'm Christ's feet and I'm his hand, I'm his mouth. What am I doing? Am I representing Christ? Because we have preached and converted this person. She knows the doctrines, please. So you don't start telling her about the state of the dead at that point. That is not the place to talk about doctrine, but this is the place to be Christ. So, just like that, yet another family most likely left the church like that, and there is no sermon you're going to preach to that family because the sermon was very clear. But I pray that the Lord will give us another chance to redeem ourselves. For example, let me answer the last one and I allow the pastor to comment and we end. On divorce and remarriage, you got married, you had 2 children, then separated. So, you got married, had 2 children, then separated. The man remarried and then separated the second lady. Now, the man wants to go back to the first marriage. What can the lady do? Should she accept to go back? So she divorced. The man married somebody else. The second person left. Now the man wants to go back to the first marriage. What can the lady do? Should she accept to go back? This is a loaded question. And I will ask the lady, what does she want to do herself? You know, many times as a people, we have learned to outsource responsibility to other people. What does she want to do? Question. Does she want to go back? That is a question. There is a reason as to why she left, isn't it? There was a reason as to why she left. Have those issues been addressed? You understand? Because when you have left a situation, there was a reason, yeah? Our God is a God of redemption and reconciliation. But don't let your spirituality make you stupid. Don't let your faith make you foolish. The question is, why did you leave? You left because A, B, C, D. Have those things since been addressed? Or are you going back because now the man is single? Because clearly that's a pattern. Because now he's single, that's why you want to go back. So, this is my response. Should she accept to go back? Nobody can tell you whether to go back or not. It is you who has to decide whether you want to go back or not. So answer that question yourself. Number 2, ask, you left for a reason. Have those reasons been since addressed? The other thing, most people rarely change. People rarely change. So if you're going back, are you now willing to live with the very things that made you live? I know people can change when they want to, but not when you are making them change. So if you were to go back and nothing changes, you are facing the same situation, will you now stay there? Because that is going to prevent you from getting yourself into messy entanglement. You leave, then you come back. You know, research shows that when people leave an abuse, for example, you've not said it's abuse, I'm just saying, when people leave abusive marriages, they leave 6 times before eventually leaving completely. That's what research shows. They leave an average of 6 times. If they ever leave completely, it's the 7th time. Because even this person who is an abuser, it's not that they are always bad. There are certain good times that make them stay there. I had a close family member who was a very, very, very abusive marriage. She left 6 times, just what research shows, about 6 times. And every time she would leave, when she has been beaten to pulp, then when she goes, she comes home, to my home or to another home. She was a family member, not nuclear, but within the larger family. She would be nursed, taken care of, until now she's strong. Then when she's strong, she goes to the shamba. You wait for her, she's not coming. So you go to look for her in the shamba. There were no mobile phones. You get worried. Where has she gone? Days later, you come to learn the man came, picked her from the shamba, and she went. We knew the pattern. After a few months or years, she comes again crawling, broken. Then you nurse her, then she goes to the market. She goes to the market, doesn't come back. We knew the pattern. So later you go find out the man was surveying around, found her in the market, convinced her, she went back. Sadly, the last time, 7th time, when now she went back, the man had already contracted HIV. That time there were no ARVs, so he infected her with HIV. And because he was already having TB, I think he just came for her because he felt I cannot die alone. So he infected her with HIV. Then he died. There were no ARVs. He died when she was now back, I think the 7th time. And when he died, like what happens to many widows, they said, you have killed him. Because you were being abused, you went and got poison, you have killed him. And yet he had been diagnosed HIV, TB. So she was chased away and not even allowed to bury him because they said you have killed him. But I still remember because that pattern kept happening when we were children. She would say, oh, he has changed, without addressing the root cause. Sad story, he died. and she also died some years later and left the children. This is where generational pattern comes in. She left children bitter, angry, very angry and bitter. And these children are now adults, young adults. They are getting married, same pattern, abuse and many things happening to the children because they witnessed violence and they were not taken care of because the mother kept living up to now. And when you look at it, you can tell that generation, unless one person decides to change, it is going to replay to the third and the fourth generation because of choices, wrong choices that were made. So if you left for a reason. And from the question you're asking, obviously I don't know you, and it can apply to many of us. From the question you're asking, it's not about your spouse. You actually need to work on yourself. It feels to me that you don't know what you want. That's how it's feeling to me. Feels to me that you have given your power to other people to decide for you what you want in life. You need to talk to somebody so that you can get clarity, you can get direction, you can get focus, you can know what you want. If you knew what you wanted, you would not be asking this question. But the question is pointing more that you need to address deeper issues of being clear about your life, okay? I hope that wasn't too harsh. I just thought that, it's better for me to be direct so that you can be helped. Thank you so much. I want to give Pastor a chance to respond and for today.
Thank you.